What's going on? What's going on, people? First and foremost, all praises be to the Most High. All praises be to the Most High. This pilgrim's in the earth once again. Yeah, man, thankful and blessed to be before y'all today in these perilous times. Yeah, man, blessed to see another one. Yeah, man, racism in America. Racism in America. Seems like um, this is the best time for me to do a video like this, addressing racism in America, considering the frequency or the vibration of the environment. Of course, America has always been uh, the most divided uh, country or whatever, which they call a melting pot. Because of um, it's the good with the bad. It's been a place of opportunity for a lot of people. You know, um, but also it's been bittersweet. Um, it's a place that has been established off hate. You can't get around it. It's brutal history, specifically um, the brutal history or the violent history of white America or European America to Black Americans, and of course it's tragic what just happened. I mean, anybody losing their life is tragic, right? I don't I would never celebrate that or mock that. Of course, the scriptures tell us don't. That's not. That's not something that we do. But um, I understand the ritualistic, uh, like when things happen, right? So you got Charlie Kirk, right, that just got assassinated. You know, so called whatever. I don't look at the event. I look at the reaction behind the event or the intention uh, behind the event. So all I see online is people going back and forth, arguing, and it's not even much so um, kind of black versus white, which that takes place too. But I see black on black more so altercation or arguing a confrontation back and forth. I'm talking about people that I went to school with back and forth. You know what I'm saying? Um, and I said, "Wow, man, the devil is the author of confusion." Um, what they're doing, they're emotionally triggering people into war, man. Uh, Civil war, race war, whatever you want to call it, man. The devil is triggering people, man. And I say, man, he's a crafty character, man. He's a crafty character because how can this assassination of this white man uh, be? I mean, I'm seeing brothers fall out as far as their friendships. I'm seeing people going at it, you know. But it's revealing the division in America, man. You can go to work, you can, you can celebrate these holidays, you can go to the sports stadium, you can do all these things, but soon as they turn that emotional trigger on, it will be straight chaos. Um, just to give y'all a little backstory about me, right? I mentioned this before. I grew up in a predominantly black city. Detroit, Michigan. Most half of my life, I would say half, back and forth. But yeah, I'm from Detroit, Michigan. Um, so of course, in my neighborhood, it was, of course, you're dealing with the dysfunction of poverty. My mother always did well to take care of me. And of course, I was in a single parent home My father did what he could until, he passed away when I was very young. But, he was outside of my home. But rest in peace, his soul. But yeah, I grew up in the hood, you know what I'm saying? Till I was about, I would say, 12 or 13 years old. Um, but the things that I was kind of accustomed to, or things that was in my environment, was very detrimental, that my mom seen, that would be an unsafe situation where she wanted to get me out of that environment for the sake of, my future, in her mind at that time. And it could have been, and she might have, and it worked out. So that's what she did. She took us from, well, she took me, because, I was the only child through my mother. She took me out of that environment and we moved across 8 Mile. So across 8 Mile at that time, was a very like Caucasian, predominantly Caucasian, mostly white people. It was a very known racist environment also. I had no idea what to expect. I've never even, let alone, been across 8 Mile. Maybe a few steps, going to a grocery store or something like that. But I had never been out there. But just to give you like the understanding of what I thought about white America, all I knew is what I saw in movies, right? And of course, you had your few Caucasian teachers, or even our police officers were black people. So, and not only that, I did see white people not every now and again, but they were pretty much friendly people when you saw them in Detroit. But when I saw a movie that really messed me up, Rosewood. Rosewood. If you know about that movie, you know that movie is emotionally triggering. Uh, of course, it's real. It's really a real event that happened in the past, and a lot of events that happened just like that. But that movie spoke volumes in me, and actually, to some degree, it put fear in me at that time. Um, yeah, it put fear in me. So when I saw that movie, I was like, wow. I looked at white people a certain way. I'm like, wow. So this is this is who they are. You get what I'm saying? I learned about the KKK and lynchings and things like that. So all we knew was this: white people are set out to hurt us, to do physical harm to us. So, um, going and moving to the suburbs, what you would call it at that time. Now, it's something totally different now. But moving, what they call East Point, Michigan, right? Moved there when I was about 13. Um, Going into that environment, it wasn't many black people, right? So, I mean, just frequenting the neighborhood. I'm talking about going to walk. You would hear, "Hey, there," go back to Africa, go back to Detroit. You would hear people riding past saying these things. Um, and going to school, I'm talking about maybe maybe 10, 20 black people in the school. Going from all black environment to that was very like, yeah, it was a hard transition, because I had, what I noticed, a lot of people, some black people are raised in that environment who live there, and they kind of adjust um, to the culture. But me, I couldn't adjust to their culture, and I didn't care if I was looked at as, I was actually like the angry, the angry black kid, and that Rosewood, or that history of slavery, the history of violence, the history of lynchings and segregation, that triggered me. So you had kids in the school that would say certain things. Hey, you want to hear a black joke? Or hey, I remember the first time I was called a nigga. I was at my locker, right? I don't know how I got into it with this white dude, right? But he called me a nigga. And I'm telling you, man, everything in me, I blacked out. Had him on a locker. Boop, boop, boop. That was it. That's all they needed to see in the school. They told, "Hey, you cannot do that here. You know this, that." But in my mind, once I heard that word, nigga or nigger, it triggered me to defend myself. Of course, physically I was the aggressor, but yeah, that's one of many things or many times that I remember. Um, and when you amongst these people, when this outcome happens, if you getting violent, mind you, uh, and I'm gonna switch it up in a minute because not only have we been deceived, or I ain't gonna say deceived, but not only have we been fed the narrative of all white people are against us, but white people have been deceived also of who we are and what we really truly are about. Because all black people are not trying to hurt y'all. And I understand it now. Now that I'm a 37-year-old man, I understand uh, the devil on both sides. So I remember even walking, man. I'm talking about I had a couple friends, you know what I'm saying? Had a couple friends and back then, I had got cool with a couple people from that neighborhood. I had a mixed dude. He was one of my closest friends, and a couple other people. But yeah, we used to walk across the street, go get us something to eat, or just walk around the neighborhood. What kids do, and I'm talking about you got people on alert. Not only you dealing with the old Caucasian people who have been fed this narrative of black people are violent and always looking for trouble. They're looking, hey, can you stop dribbling the basketball? You're doing, or hey, can you stop talking so loud? Or hey, I'm gonna call the police. I'm talking about playing basketball in this neighborhood. They will call the police on us just laughing, or let's say we just having a disagreement about the basketball game. We could be talking too loud. They will call the police. I remember the police coming out with M16s. I'm talking about we was probably teenagers and they stretched us out. Get on the ground, get on the ground. The person across the street, they claimed when it all came down to it, after everybody parent came up there, what's going on? Somebody said we had a gun, you know. So that's just things like that. I'm just trying to bring you up to speed how traumatizing it was. And I remember so many times I can go for days and days to give you like testimonies of situations like that. I'm talking about. Um, I remember walking because I had to walk from school every day, so I remember we had to always pass this house with these loud dogs. These dogs were very aggressive. Of course, they had a gate right there. Um, I remember walking past this house one day, and me and my friend we used to always shut up, telling the dog shut up. So I remember one day we walking past, and we telling the dog shut up. So as soon as we make it around, a big old one of them old Fords pull up. You know what that means? Get him, Bobby. But anyway, man, yeah, these two, well, it was like three big white guys just hop out, and I'm talking about we were middle school, maybe. Um, these big white guys hop out, and I'm talking about physically swinging or kicking at us. You know, so I'm accustomed to this at this point. Of grown men trying to attack you as a child. You know, there were no cell phones for us, to call for help. You had to do what you had to do. But luckily I had a friend. Well, actually I had somebody who was my friend today. They pulled up back then and hopped out like, hey, what y'all doing? Leave them alone. That was the only thing that saved us at that time. But um even interactions with police, being physically, assaulted by the police. It's so many situations. And I can go on and on and on. But I'm just showing you this is a lot of our reality when it comes to white America or racism in America. Not only that, but to hear, I mean, I used to talk as I started to get older and I started to kind of look at both sides and look how they look at things and look at how we doing this and the emotional triggers. Because I would hear if I heard, hey, what's the name don't like black people, I was coming at you and I will fight you. I will physically assault you because it was so triggering to me. I was very sensitive. And I said, you know what? They are controlling us with that. They're controlling us with being emotionally triggered by the history that they've done to us. Now, mind you, the facts, let's deal with the facts. Okay, yes, there's racism, but a lot of those people who put us in slavery, a lot of people who done those heinous things to us, if I told you a lot of those wasn't your poor white people, you'd probably think it was crazy. But when you look at the history, a lot of those people, those poor white people that was being coming over to America, a lot of them was looking for opportunity. Coming from poor Eastern Europe countries. A lot of the people that done those things to us, a lot of those was like Masonic rituals and stuff done by the Ish people. You'll be surprised, man, um how this thing is, man. But I think it was on purpose that it made us because they would be able to trigger us into being the aggressor, well, looking like the aggressor, so they can come with a solution, which would be total annihilation for our people. Look at Chicago. You know, when these young boys hear Trump, when they hear National Guard, when they hear, military coming, our mind automatically clicks to those triggers, racism, lynching. They coming to do something to us. So we automatically are on guard. So I understand it. I understand it. And on the other hand, all these white people hearing is black people, seeing the culture. I seen the guy Charlie Kirk. He was always mentioning things about our culture. Our culture, our culture is toxic, and it is. But you have to understand when we were living in the 70s, when we had, or the 60s, when we had great marriages, mother and father household, raising children, father going to work for 12 hours, working in the factory, or living on the farm, owning our own businesses, whatever time it was, there was always an attack or an agenda on us from the US government. And I think if we can replace white America as the enemy with US government, then we can see the kind of attackers or the enemy in a situation. Because I don't believe, I would be very ignorant to say white people is the enemy, because I understand a lot of them just don't know no better. They've been fed the lies just like we have, or they've been fed triggers. You know, um, they think one day we'll try to get revenge on them. Because you got to think, put yourself in their shoes for a minute, right? If you're um and I'm not telling you to have sympathy for white people, by no means, but what I'm saying is, imagine all the history that these people are taught is all the bad things that your people have done to them, and you're walking amongst these people. All you see is, uh, when you turn on the news, is this black guy did this to this white woman, or this black guy did this, he's shooting up something, or this that. You're thinking, hey, all these people are like this. Um, excuse me. So when you're seeing black people for the first time, you're on guard. They've had movies on this. I can't. It was here, American History X. I can't remember what movie it was. Dang, what's the name? I had to put that in the chat, man. Yeah, but Busta Rhymes was in the movie. What's the model? I forgot her name. Start with a T. I can never think of these things when I'm doing this. But anyway, what I'm saying is the social programming has divided us purposely for this time, I believe, because they're gonna trigger. a race war. I've been talking about, if you go back, I done had videos about this. These people have agents. They have agents that will put on Nazi uniforms. They got agents that will put on KKK uniforms. They got agents that will stand up as Black Panthers, Israelites, radical groups, you name it, man. But the plan is to trigger the everyday Black person or the everyday Caucasian person. You get what I'm saying? Of course, you have your white national groups, you have your Black extremist groups. Um, Once they trigger that, you're gonna see so many protests, so many riots taking place all over the U.S. And they know this. That's what the military is for. So it's gonna look like Candyland for the U.S. government to lock people up, specifically, mainly, uh, Black people, young Black people. That's who they want. Um, if you didn't know, America is over. They understand that they're losing their grip of us. When I say us, I mean Black people. The program is breaking. You get what I'm saying? It's very much alive still, but it's breaking for a lot of us, right? The matrix, you know, um, the alternative reality is starting to be a lot clearer that America is not for us. And it never was. But for a time, they had to distract us. They just had to. They had to distract us, and they had us living in our boxes. Because you can live in the same country, but in different boxes. Like I just explained to you, I was living in the hood. That's a box. That's an experiment. So coming out of that box into another box, my reality changed. But I understand it because the Most High had me experience it for a reason. I'm talking about, man. We was man, and I'm still friends with a couple of my buddies to this day. I remember in high school about to fight the whole city almost, man. I'm talking about 60 people, with the police on their side, and we square up. So it's not a game, man. It's really not a game. I'm talking about historically, people have lost their lives. Even in the going back to the movie Rosewood, just think about that. What happened in the movie itself? Um, a black man, a situation where a black man being accused of essaying a white woman. That's all these white people needed to hear. Think about this. This guy Charlie Kirk, right? Not to go off. Charlie Kirk. What does it have to do with black people anyway? Ain't the suspect or the guy who unalived this guy, wasn't he Caucasian? So how did black people get in this narrative? But I would guess that, okay, you have kind of like the taunting online of some black people, kind of celebrating it. But it's crazy how some bad apples can represent the whole. You get what I'm saying? But anyway, when you look at Rosewood and these white people, when they get these lynch mobs, right? Because I'm sure some of them just got fresh. Like they probably really thought that they was doing justice with what they was doing. I said they thought. I ain't say I thought, but they probably thought, hey, there's a perpetrator amongst us. And you had so many situations historically of white people or white men thinking they was doing justice by going to, you know, attack our people, or because they're thinking that we're this, you know, what the U.S. government portrayed us as. But best believe, man, everybody is on edge right now, right? The country is on edge, uh, and that's one of the main reasons I really decided to get my children and my family out of America, because I understand they stirring it up. They cooking up something mean, you know. So while you going to work trying to make a living, times getting hard, you trying to just maintain. they're cooking up a scenario or a narrative just for you. You know what I'm saying? A hot plate for you to feed into. Excuse me. Spray this mosquito spray. It's kind of messing with me. But anyway, what I want to say in totality, don't feed into it, man. Don't feed into it. When they start protesting and they say, when they got all this stuff going on in the streets, because guess what? Guess what was a psyop, or guess what was an experiment? George Floyd, right? Remember, you had all these black cities or people when they setting up breaks in the downtown areas, trying to get people to engage and protesting and kind of have this race situation. That happened in Detroit too. I'm talking about almost a lot of black cities, people were doing that. But you would have paid agents that would ignite these situations. So they're trying to push black America, push white America into each other. Remember when you was young, right? You want to get somebody to fight, you push them into each other. That's what the US government is trying to do. Push us into each other and start a fight. With that, when that fight happens, you will see military and laws being changed, and it will never go back to normal ever again. And you will never see America the same again. It will be occupied with military. I mean, ICE is almost like ICE is almost going to take off the ice jacket and put on the, you know, uh, everybody can get it uniform, and man, it's gonna be so much infighting going on because you got to think there's people that work jobs. There's people they're gonna have to shut things down. I'm talking about whole schools, whole neighborhoods, whole cities, because there will be um, false flag situations, but there will be real situations because they're gonna keep pushing or emotionally triggering people through media, social media, all that. So they will cause a race war or a civil war. Not only that, you will have at the same time you're conservative, you're liberal, everybody they've created this conservative narrative. Most of us was conservative, but they've created this conservative to have a white face on it. They've created this liberal to have a black face on it. So you're gonna have that going on. Political parties or political what you believe as far as Republican or Democrat, they're gonna be battling also. So it's just gonna be chaotic, man. Very chaotic. And also, module I showed you in the video, you're gonna hear that anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism. It's almost gonna go hand in hand. You represent this, or you're anti-Semite. You're gonna be losing your jobs. You're gonna be losing all your freedoms. Um, and that's why the Most High told us to get up out of there, man. Come up out of her, my people, because what? Because it's gonna be a very unsafe situation for us. But yeah, man, if you like what this video, please like, share, and if you haven't already, subscribe. This Pilgrims in the Earth, man. Tell me what y'all think in them comments. Peace and blessings to y'all. Y'all be safe out there. Again, don't engage or don't get emotionally triggered. We out.